Welcome to the Get Sculpted podcast. We're your hosts, Tiana,
Jordana,
and Marilyn.
This podcast is all about cutting through the noise and giving you the real deal on fat loss, muscle building, and what it really takes to build your 2.0 sculpted self, inside and out. Our motto is to work smarter, not harder. We'll break down science-based and actionable strategies to optimize your metabolism, ditch the diets, and create a sustainable, fit, and healthy lifestyle that actually works for you. So if you're ready to get stronger, not just skinnier, and embrace a body you love, hit that subscribe button and let's get sculpted. Hello and welcome back to the Get Sculpted pod. We are so excited for this one. Today we are speaking to the woman over 40 who is doing all the right things but not getting the right results. So we hear this all the time. What I did before isn't working anymore. I'm no stranger to working hard. I'm no stranger to staying active. I'm no stranger to eating clean, but I have this belly fat that just won't go away. My body's changing and it just feels really out of my control. I think we can all relate to that with our clients and even, in our own lives, right?
A bit ourselves too. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the reality. First of all, we want to validate because things are shifting and you're not crazy and you are right that we have to do things differently. However, it also isn't true on the flip side that there's nothing you can do about getting lean, building muscle, and really optimizing your health in your 40s, 50s, and beyond. And I would say that a lot of our clients have actually achieved their fittest body after this time.
Absolutely.
1,000%.
Right? So this is the really exciting part. And another exciting part is you actually probably don't need to spend more time and brain power on this stuff. You need to do less, but do it better.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So if your old approach of doing tons of cardio, fitness classes, sweating more, doing more HIIT, just really burning your muscles out with tons and tons of volume and just continuing to push through and having that hustle mindset, sleep when I'm dead, and, not even just working harder, but also not fueling yourself for that result. We want to offer you a different strategy. So now we're going to break down how your hormones are shifting during this time, how this is impacting your recovery, why you actually need less volume, but you need more intensity, how protein is going to impact your results, and why sleep might be the real secret weapon. And I know that that's a really important one.
It is definitely a secret weapon.
I can't wait to dive into this one.
Yes, you're going to want to come back to this one and you're going to want to share this one with your friends. So, Mare, please kick us off by sharing all about recovery and hormones in this stage.
Yes, this is a big topic to get into. So you already touched on this, but a lot of the women we talk to, especially in their 40s, they tell us, suddenly I'm a stranger in my body, right? All the things that I used to do, it's not working. So often what they do is they double down and they do more of the stuff that isn't working. And what happens is they're exhausted, their body becomes inflamed, they don't see the progress that they want, and they just continue to perpetuate that narrative that something's wrong with me, I'm broken. But what's actually happening at this stage is your hormones are shifting, okay? So when women hit their late 30s and 40s, estrogen and progesterone start to fluctuate and eventually decline. And it changes things when it comes to the recovery that your body needs. Not that recovery should ever be optional, but at one point in our life, we might have seen it that way. Now, in this stage, it is absolutely necessary because these hormones aren't just about your monthly cycle. It's impacting everything from how you handle stress to how you build muscle and to how you recover. So let's talk about estrogen first. It has anti-inflammatory properties. So when that starts to dip, you may notice things like soreness, joint stiffness, and your body taking a longer time to bounce back after workouts. In terms of progesterone, this helps with mood and sleep. So when you have lower levels, this is where, and we're going to get into the sleep part, but it does lead to poor sleep quality and those restless nights. Anxiety is often reported and that wired and tired feeling. I've actually had that before. It's such a terrible feeling because you're on the one hand exhausted, but on the other hand, you're like, I just can't
stop.
Yeah,
just constantly not rested. That impacts you in pretty much every way.
Every way, right. And then on top of that, you've got cortisol in the mix. And this is your body's main stress hormone. So as estrogen and progesterone decline, your body becomes more sensitive to cortisol, meaning that the regular stressors in your life, like a tough workout or poor sleep or even emotional stress, like the things going on in your life, it all hits harder and it takes a bigger toll on your body. So it means that you are staying in a stressed out state longer. Your inflammation increases. And guess what? Your results, they stall out.
Yeah, that's why I can't get ahead.
Right. And this is where you might notice things like fat in places you didn't notice before or like in your midsection. So this is what we're telling you. What worked before which I maintain didn't work in the first place, but what you were doing before, the hits, the cardio classes, like skipping rest days, living off no sleep, living off like 4 or 5 hours of sleep.
Or coffee.
Exactly. It's all working against you now. And your body isn't fighting you. It's talking to you. So it's telling you recovery is not an option. It is a must.
Can I actually share a little anecdote here? Because
Please.
Yeah.
at the beginning of this year, I knew something was wrong in my system. Actually, it was for a while now. And I finally had a physical with my doctor last summer. And she's like, yeah, everything's fine. No problem. Everything's good. Come January, I was like, I don't feel right in my body. There's too many symptoms that just feel like these listed out perimenopause symptoms that everybody is talking about. And I had like a dozen of them. And then a bunch here that we were talking about too. So this is where I want everybody to be an advocate for themselves. And I think it's really, really important because our doctors will very quickly be like, no, that's fine for your age. Everything is good.
You're in normal range.
Your normal range, quote unquote. And if you have the means, I would highly recommend to go and get your blood work done privately. What I realized was, one, my doctor never did blood work for my physical. And now in Ontario and Canada, you only get a physical once every like 3 years. So that's a long time to be without any sort of insight on your body.
Very much so.
And two, everything was in this like very broad normal range, which is essentially a bunch of other sick people. Like, I don't want to be in normal range. I want to be optimal. What does optimal look like? So I actually went down this road to a private clinic and they did literally almost every blood test under the sun. And what came back was very, very surprising, especially somebody who has worked out consistently for over a decade, who has built up all these healthy habits, who works out consistently, who has decent muscle mass, all of these things, right? And it turned out that there was actually some issues with cholesterol, cortisol, iron, vitamin D. There was several markers that were even just part of basic blood work that were of concern. And not just from a optimal perspective, but literally like, hey, Jord, you're not healthy right now.
Yeah.
Like on the inside. And I think this is where it can go both ways for people. Some people hear all of this perimenopause business and they're almost like too ahead of the curve. They're going in too early and trying to figure out how to get ahead of it. You can't get ahead of it. You just have to do the best you can in that moment. And then the other side of things is when you feel like you're not being listened to, you're not being listened to.
Yeah.
And you need to advocate for yourself, because if I had had that blood work done as it was supposed to have been done with my own physical, I would have known about these things much earlier and been able to tackle them. And they might not have been as bad as what they were when I finally got the blood work. And what I also like to say is that what we're about to tell you with the rest of the elements, this is exactly what I did to reverse a lot of the things that I was doing, alongside with like supplements and certain medication that I had to implement. But the basics never go out of style here.
That's right.
No. Thank you for sharing that, Jordan. I think that was really powerful. I think that people also have it wrong where they think they have to fix their hormones first before strength training or doing a new routine. And I'm like, that is what's going to put you at the best place to optimize your hormone levels.
Exactly.
I mean, I feel like this is where everyone can agree, whether you're a holistic doctor, a naturopath, Western medicine doctor, like the lifestyle of having more muscles, staying lean, all the things that we're going to talk to you about today, these are what's going to put you in the best foot forward to optimize your hormonal health. So with that, can I take you guys through how we can actually do that? How we can do less but do it better?
Yes. Let's do it.
Okay, so this is where I really like to highlight for women that it's not about suffering yourself into the ground all the time. And if you really want to have a fit body, a lean body, a body that performs well, better health and just really thriving, it doesn't mean that you have to overhaul your whole life in the process. More is not better. Less is more. Quality matters. And this is where you might have been used to sweating more from your workout, spending more time working out, measuring success by the hours you clock, not just the quality of those hours. How much are you really suffering from that diet? Like, what are you giving up? Are you feeling really, really hungry? This is often how we can measure success. But like we said earlier, this is actually doing more harm than good, because Now with your hormonal shifts, your recovery is compromised and your body's response to stress is not the same. So now you're just not able to recover like you used to. And you know what? Before, what you were doing, like you said, Mara, it's not optimal either. When you're younger, you have a lot of leeway. You can recover better.
That's right. Do.
Like, think about the bar when you're like 19 versus like 35. It's like,
no, I don't want to think about that.
It ain't the same body. Back then, you could do drinks until like 3 a.m. and then go to yoga at 7 a.m. But
yeah, seriously.
Now it's the same thing. Back then, you could do, I don't know, 2 CrossFit classes back to back and, you're good. Now you can't afford to beat up your body like that. So we really want to learn to, when we say work with your body and not against your body, what we mean is we want to promote recovery. We want to promote what you're building rather than what you're taking away. By working with your body, you're going to allow yourself to be able to do more because you're focusing on how you can actually stay in the game. So your nervous system can't keep up with these high stress workouts. It can't keep up with all this high volume. It can't keep up with doing so much all the time. And you need to give yourself more recovery. So here's exactly what that looks like. Number 1, you need to lift heavier weights.
Yep.
All the time.
Period.
I don't care who you are. When you're listening to this, you need to lift heavier. Because here's the thing. If you're new to strength training, you might think, okay, I know I got to do that thing. I got to lift the weights. Bam, 10-pound dumbbells. I got you. I'm sorry to say it is not the same thing to have one set of dumbbells in your living room and you're putting on a new YouTube workout and just cycling through things that make you burn. You need to focus on doing 4 to 6 exercises in every workout, heavy ones, compound lifts, your deadlifts, your squats, your rows, your presses. If you are like, hey, you're speaking a foreign language, I don't know what those are, you would do very well with hiring a trainer, a fitness professional. You need to learn these like the back of your hand, learn to do them with proper form, get professional guidance, and then up the weights. And that is going to get you so much more than just doing high reps where you're fatiguing your nervous system with high reps. That's what you're doing. You're putting a lot of time in, but you're not getting a lot out of that time. So it's like saying, okay, I'm going to get rich, so I'm going to work more. I'm going to work at McDonald's. Okay, but I'm making minimum wage and I'm spending 40 hours and now I'm tired. I don't have any more resources to make more money. Instead, it's like, okay, no, I'm going to build better skills so I can work less. I'm going to work 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day, and I'm going to get wealthier. But a lot of people relate to that analogy because if I say, oh, I'm working 40 hours a week, why aren't I rich? Of course, we'd say, well, what are you doing in those 40 hours? Like I could be working 40 hours just doing spreadsheets of, I don't know, color coding my closet or something. Like it isn't going to make a difference. So it's about doing less and doing it better. And I would say we've all been through this transformation with our own training, right?
Oh, absolutely.
For sure. And I think also this is just shameless plug. This is why we have our movement specialists on staff because we don't just want people executing the movement for the sake of the movement. There's a strategy involved in setting up the program so that there is the intensity as well as the recovery. But then it's how are you executing every single exercise and how can we maximize every single rep because you want to be doing as little as possible to get the maximum result from that movement.
Exactly. And it's not just about doing it. That's the thing. And this is where I know we love to say, hey, as long as you're moving your body, good on you. There's something to be said for that. But if you want a result from that, it's really not just about showing up. It's just not enough. You got to be showing up the right way. So aside from having the right form, like we talked about, the right number of exercises, you don't want to do too much junky stuff. You're setting yourself back more than you're setting yourself forward. You also want to rest between sets. And this is where you guys know I will rant about this forever. The 45 seconds, what the F is that? The 60 seconds, if you're doing that, you need to stop right now because...
You make me laugh just because you're always in my head even when I'm training. And now I find myself saying to my clients, if you only need 20 seconds to rest, you are not lifting heavy enough.
Hard enough.
Give me the names of who's resting 20 seconds.
But it's true.
Whenever people are like, I'm bored, I'm like, really? Yeah. It's interesting because if you were really lifting that heavy...
You would need that time.
You would be anything but bored.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing. So if you're, again, this is where you might be thinking, okay, but I'm doing all the right things. If you're not getting the right results, you're not doing the right things. You're doing the general thing, but we're going to zoom in. If you think, 2 minutes between squats is crazy talk, you know what's crazy talk is the light weights. That's crazy talk.
Yeah.
So if you need to know how to lift heavy enough, this is where people will say, hey, I don't need a coach and I'm good. But this is where you have blind spots because you need to learn what that intensity feels like. And then finally, it's not just the recovery between the sets. It's not just about doing fewer in each workout. It's also fewer training and more rest days. So a lot of time people think, I'm going to do a fitness class every day. I went through a period, guys, where I did 2 classes a day.
I was just going to say
Yep.
2-a-days.
And one of the first things we tell our clients when they're like, oh, don't worry, I couldn't get my workout in, but I doubled up. We're like, actually,
No.
we'd rather you not do that second workout because you don't actually
Yes.
build muscle during the workout. You build it in the recovery.
Mm-hmm.
To the point of recovery is a lot of people will say, I'm getting really tired and I just can't keep up. And I'm like, okay, but the eating is another piece of it. Because if you're not fueling yourself, and we're going to talk about that too, but if you're not giving yourself the right fuel, of course, that's going to feel like too much. So
Yes.
you need to be training and eating to build muscle. That's the gist of it. And you need to stop doing things just for the sake of doing things and fatiguing your body and your nervous system. And you need to spend less time and spend it better by lifting heavy and building muscle.
That is the perfect segue to eating protein and thinking more about muscle, because I sort of love that the dieting industry, quote unquote, has caught on to the trend of lifting heavier and eating more protein. But I think you have to go so much deeper than just a random Instagram reel to be like, eat more protein. Yes. Okay. We get it.
Yeah,
what does that look like in someone's actual life? Because protein is a really important macronutrient when it comes to being in your 40s and trying to actually sculpt the physique that you're really proud of in this age bracket. Like being able to feel like you've reached that place where you're super proud of the body that you've built, that is much more of a status symbol in 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond than the fancy car you might be driving or those like crazy trips you could be going on, because you have to earn it and you have to put in the work to get there. So when we're talking about working out and building muscle, it's so much more than that, because our muscle is helping keep our metabolism running. It's helping to manage our hunger, and it's helping us recover faster, if just in a nutshell. And going back to what you were saying, Mara, around estrogen shifts, when that starts to drop and your body becomes more resistant to building and maintaining muscle, you really need to also focus on the fuel side of things to offset that and set yourself up for success. So what that means is like you definitely have to be working smarter. We love our working smarter, not harder, so that you can hang on to the muscle that you already have. And the nutrition side of things plays a really big role there. So the core thought here is that protein, for anybody that doesn't already know the scoop, it helps you build and preserve your lean tissue. It helps repair muscle damage after you've trained. It keeps you full and helps to curb cravings. It keeps us satiated longer. And it also helps us to balance blood sugar. So your energy and your mood, they're more stable throughout the day. And the one thing that I've found is like, in order to make this happen for people, you need to do more than just looking at hitting the protein goal. So we do want you aiming for like anywhere from the 0.8 to the 1 gram of protein per pound of your goal body weight per day. We actually lean closer to the 1 gram of body weight per pound. And some people even go higher than that. And this whole myth around protein being not good for you or hurting the liver, like that's been debunked for so long now. And so leaning into protein really does help you create that satiation. It supports the muscle definition that you want and building the muscle that you need to be healthy in this stage of life. So the second piece of tips that I would like to share there is just a couple of tips, and I'd love to hear what you girls think too, is pulling your protein forward in the day. I think a lot of women in this age group, they'll delay eating. And if you're listening and you skipped breakfast and all you had was a coffee and it's like lunchtime and you're like, I might just wait till dinner. This is why you're not seeing the progress that you want to be seeing. This is part of what's holding you back. You might know you need to eat protein. You might be eating some protein, but you might not be eating enough of it. And you might not be eating enough of it throughout the day that's going to support you fueling yourself the way that you need to be fueled. So I like to pull forward, have a big enough breakfast where it's like 30, 40, even 50 grams of protein.
I love that.
And I like to still make sure that I'm getting those meals throughout the day. I honestly do not believe in the fasting mentality and eating windows. I think if you're hungry, eat and, create your meals around that routine that you have. Would you girls add anything?
Yeah, I would say protein becomes easier too when you accustom yourself to protein versions of things or higher protein versions.
Absolutely.
You know what? Some people rant about like, oh, I don't want a cottage cheese dessert. You know what? Some of them are really good. I love my cottage cheese.
If you talk to our girls on our team, they're always sharing their cottage cheese recipes. And it's things that you would never think you can make from cottage cheese.
You know
so
what?
Don't knock it. Yeah.
Exactly. Like I've been loving protein pasta, and this is a meatless dish, actually. It's
Right.
vegetarian. I have protein pasta, and I use half marinara sauce, half blended cottage cheese.
Ooh.
It's like a rosé sauce. I'm telling you, it's freaking good. My kids love it. And
That's
yeah,
awesome.
We love our protein stuff. But that's the thing. Some people, when you're new to it, get weirded out. But when you make these slow adaptations, I guarantee your shopping habits will change.
Yes.
Your eating habits will change. And it'll be so easy for you to just pack on the protein without always thinking about how am I going to get these 140 grams in or whatever your target is.
Yeah, you don't always have to lean into making your chicken breast portion bigger. You can find these other tips and tricks to start to integrate that into your overall meal planning so that you get that protein in different and fun ways.
Yeah, Premier and the coffee. That's another one.
Ooh, yes.
Oh, yeah, I love that one too.
Yeah.
So let's move in. T, I would love for you to talk about how sleep can be such a superpower in this age range.
This is an important one. Another one I feel strongly about because I think a lot of us, I get that we all have lifestyles that are different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Heck, I have 2 kids. I remember when you are parenting young kids, my kids are still young, but they're not sleeping through the night young. I remember there is a lot of unpredictability. We want to honor that, right? There's various circumstances, there's shift work and all that. However, I do want to die on the hill of we have more control over our sleep quality than we think.
That's a good point.
I will say that. I will say you can't wave a magic wand and say, all right, I'm going to have the perfect circumstance to get a perfect sleep. Maybe you've just never been a great sleeper, but you can always do better. I'm such a firm believer you can always do better. I'll give an example of myself. You know, my coach was telling me, because I'm prepping for my fit model competition, sleep is even more important now than ever. And I don't sleep badly, but I do get 7.5 hours. She's like, okay, try for 8, a little bit longer. And the last 2 days, I was like, you know what? I didn't hit it. Told myself like, oh, I couldn't get to bed earlier, but I really could have. If I asked myself, could have done things to make my routine 30 minutes earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is where I encourage you to just take an honest look and assess where you can make improvements. So first of all, I want to talk about why sleep is important, because this is why you need to be sold on it if you're listening to this and thinking, okay, but maybe I don't really need to worry about this right now. Sleep is where everything happens. It's where your cells clean themselves pretty much, or whatever the exact scientific word is, I'm not sure, but you're replenishing everything. You're
regenerating.
You're regenerating. Yeah, you're recovering. Your muscles are recovering. Muscle protein synthesis, hormone regulation. This is when all of that is happening. Fat loss. So you want to set yourself up to be successful in all of these things. And that starts by being rested and by having proper sleep. If you're not sleeping well, here's what you can be dealing with. Number 1, cortisol, your stress hormone.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have more belly fat storage. The fat that you have is going to be more distributed to the midsection. You're going to have lower growth hormone, and you do not want that because that's going to mean slower muscle recovery. And this is going to affect your muscle protein synthesis as well. You're going to also have increased ghrelin, which means this is your hunger hormone. You're going to have increased cravings. It's going to make it a lot harder for you to control your eating pattern in the way that is favorable for fat loss and for staying lean. You're going to have lower leptin too. So double whammy. You're going to have less satiety and more hunger. That's not a good situation to be in when you're trying to have a calorie-controlled diet, especially in a fat loss phase.
Right.
Your blood sugar is going to swing as well. So you're going to be more tired. You're going to have more brain fog. You're not going to be functioning the way that you need to build your 2.0 self. And here's the thing. You cannot out-train and out-eat a bad sleep.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how dialed in your food is. I don't care how you're going to say, I'm going to be so good, or like, I'm going to lift so heavy. You can only do that so much depending on how much fuel you have in the tank. Like, this is where I think people really glorify the I'll sleep when I'm dead mentality.
Yeah.
That's not doing what you think it is. That's not showing that you're a badass and you don't need sleep. That's just aiming to drive a car at full speed, but the gas tank is constantly empty.
Mm-hmm.
So here's some practical tips for that. And I'd love if you guys could add some too. So number 1, it starts with bedtime. And I'm also a firm believer when people say, I can't wake up in the morning, I hate mornings. I'm like, if you're getting enough sleep, that's one thing. But it's because your sleep schedule is set up in a certain way, whether you like it or not. So shift your bedtime earlier. Start setting a consistent bedtime. If anything else, just start by developing patterns in the evenings that allow you to get as much restful sleep as possible. Cut off screens an hour before. So I have started charging my phone in my bathroom now.
Good.
Yes. I'm
Finally.
so happy you're doing that. I love that.
This is one of my biggest downfalls is the stupid phone and bedtime, the stupid TikTok. So listen, we're not asking you to be perfect all the time. Just an hour before bed, put it away.
Yeah.
you want to make sure that you're also eating enough. Like you don't want to be under eating, but especially, you want to make sure that you're not waking up at night because you're feeling hungry. So if that is happening, you're probably under eating as a whole. And you want to prioritize having boundaries. And I mean, I speak for myself. This is where I need to do some work, but having work-life boundaries, having a firm time for like, this is when I hustle. This is when I unwind. This is when my brain is now in rest and digest. Would you guys add anything to that, to sleep routines?
I just think that for anybody listening who is listening to you and thinking, oh my gosh, I am so far off the mark with all these things, is start small, like do something. We talk about that a lot. Like something is better than nothing. So if it comes to no screens before bed, if an hour right now seems like, oh my God, I could never do that. Can you start with 10 minutes, 20 minutes and scale up from there, like scaffold that. So I think with all of these things, it's again, don't overhaul because that's going to feel like a lot of work. It's going to feel unsustainable. It's not going to feel enjoyable because we want to do small changes that will make it habitual. So that would be my advice with all of these things is start small, build because it will become a habit and you'll start feeling better. So you'll want to do it more.
Yeah, I'm going to add some more practical stuff because I personally have experienced I was already, I think, sleep quality was okay. It just wasn't enough, especially in the times when I was getting up at like 5 a.m. to go work out before I went to the office. And then I'd come home and kid stuff and family stuff and trying to prepare for the next day. It felt like maybe 6, maybe 7 hours of sleep. And I thought I was good. Like I thought that was enough. And in the last, I'd say 2 or 3 years, I've really focused on trying to get closer to the 8-hour mark.
Yeah.
And truth be told, I think I actually need 9 hours consistently. And I thrive actually in my days when I do hit 9 hours consistently. And I'm much more aware of that. And so I've set up my evenings to really cater to that as much as possible, as often as possible. So the one other thing that I've done that's made a really big difference is my sleep mask. I take it with me everywhere.
Oh, yes.
That was my thing I was going to say.
We'll have sleepovers for like our planning of our company. And I'm like, good night, girls. And I like pull my sleep mask down. I'm like checked out.
You guys know I'm crazy about that too. The lights in hotels.
The lights.
Any light, any little bit of light, if you could see your hand in front of you, it is affecting your sleep. So the number one thing you could do if you're like, I don't know what to do. The freaking blackout curtains.
Darkness.
Yeah. Blackout curtains are the best. If you're traveling, the mask, just black, darkness.
That made a massive difference because that darkness, scientifically, I don't really know how to explain that to everybody. But for me, what it did, that darkness, it just shut me down and gave me the chance to really focus on falling asleep because I don't fall asleep that quickly. It takes me a little bit of time.
It signals melatonin production. So
that's good.
When your body sees lights, that's why the blue lights from screens are so bad. It's staying wired. That's how you're going to stay wired and tired because naturally your cortisol is higher in the morning, lower in the evening, but you're keeping it high and then it affects your melatonin. So this is one big rock you can do for sure.
Yeah, that one and giving myself permission to have longer sleep and setting up my schedule to do that because before I was like, 6 to 7 hours, it's fine. It was not fine. And so for anybody who's listening that you're like, I don't get a lot of sleep. It's sometimes we've set ourselves up to not get that sleep and not giving ourselves even the permission for it. So the routine around it is a big one, but it starts with giving ourselves that permission too.
Those are great.
Yeah, for sure. So we really want you guys, like with every episode, to leave with some practical takeaways. We want to summarize everything for you that you need to focus on. So in the bucket of training, we want you to not do more for the sake of doing more. We want you to do less and do it better. We want you to learn how to lift heavy weights with really good form and even spend 3 to 4 sessions a week doing that with just a few exercises with lots of rest in between and really pushing yourself to do that. And you're going to see better results than training every single day. We want you to fuel for that result. We want you to eat enough protein. We want you to eat for the result of building muscle, not just for leaning out all the time. We want you to eat enough calories to sustain your muscle mass, to sustain your energy, to recover better, and to be able to fire at all cylinders because we know that we need that support over 40 more than ever. And we also want you to really take ownership of your sleep. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to become the world's best sleeper, but we want you to identify what your 1% better looks like and just take one takeaway. Maybe it's getting blackout curtains. Maybe it's a sleep mask. Maybe it's setting a bedtime alarm. Anything that you can take away that's going to improve your sleep is making a difference. So if this hit home, please share it with a friend because it is your duty to spread the message. We want you to help more women over 40 live better lives, feel good, and really continue to thrive. And if you did get value, we would love if you would leave us a 5-star review because we can reach more awesome women like you. And that is how podcasts get out and get in the right ears. We're so excited to go deeper in the next one. We're going to bring you guys more value, and we can't wait to see you there.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Get Sculpted. We hope you feel inspired, empowered, and ready to take the next step in your fitness journey. Remember, building your 2.0 body is a unique journey for you. It's about showing up for yourself consistently and not being perfect.
If you loved today's episode, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a review and tag us on social at getsculpted.ca. Your feedback helps us reach more women like you who are ready to cut through the noise and make lasting changes.
For more daily tips, inspiration, and behind-the-scenes content, follow us on Instagram and check out our handles in the show notes below. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on Get Sculpted. Until then, remember this: getting sculpted isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter.